Yeah, I think the same thing happened last week. Last week he was on the Azir, played the role of that pretty well. You know, it got to a point in the game where he was pretty strong, wasn't really finding all the kills. Again, it was Wuffo on that Aatrox who recovered a lot of fights back and looked really, really good. But there was a point where the Azir was able to, definitely have a pretty nice impact. Zarya going to be the first pickup then. So Gould is trying something a bit different this week, it would appear, and pretty confident into it to be first picking that ADC.
Isn't going to be wanting to go for that Kalista comfort that you mentioned to me before. Skriv is instead going to be going for the Zarya, the more meta pick, the more standard, and that's an Annie being hovered. I'm gonna hold my breath and ask whether that's a proxy pick, because Annie isn't typically somebody that we see a lot of at the minute. So I'll wait for confirmation before I talk about that too much. But the Zarya is a very good choice for the side of Bulldog. It gives them a nice scaling option. She hits her spike at around 3 items, so in this mid game really will be devastating. And we've just had confirmation the Annie is a proxy pick. It's J4, so that will be a Jarvan pick for the jungle for the side instead of the Annie.
Yeah, there are a few low-level accounts there on the Lionscreed side for sure, but interesting to see. I think that the Jarvan again is a relatively safe pick. It kind of the jungle, it goes back to the kind of the setup that he has with the flag and drag, with the cataclysm, just the ability to lock people down, and so much versatility in there as well. Can go for a bit more of a tanky build or a bit more of a damage heavy build. We see the Rek'Sai coming in for Lovesick. Now, this is something that we didn't really mention coming into the picks and bans, but over on the Bulldog side, Lovesick, no, it isn't Lovesick, is it? He's on the, but all the same, I'm getting confused with the teams, but all the same, Lovesick has been somewhat of a weak link, in all honesty, for the Lionscreed side, has really been a little lackluster across the first 2 weeks. So that Jarvan maybe is a little safer for him.
Okay, the Rek'Sai will be a good option to try and keep this early game aggression going. It was in Spring Split a lot that Jarvan and Rek'Sai were the two most contested jungle picks. They were constantly put against each other because they provided all of this pressure that let you get the ball rolling early on. So really happy that Bulldogs have managed to get that for themselves. It's going to give them a lot of options to play around. They also got the Lovers duo with the Zyra Khan, a very strong bot lane combination. But Lionscreed will not let that bot lane go uncontested. They're going for the Lucian Brown, one of the earliest kill lanes that you can see in the game. The way the passives stack together is extremely easy for Lucian to get a stun off at level 2 incredibly quickly and chunk somebody out to get an early advantage. So Bulldogs will need to play a bit carefully and play respectfully. If they don't manage to get the level 2, they could be the recipients of a sudden all-in.
The last ban ends up going. I mean, the Talon banned away, maybe a bit more of a target ban onto QL. And the Akali going to get taken away as well, which, fairly safe. Not, again, massive in the pro play recently. I just think because she's not quite as strong, but definitely a lot of players going to be comfortable with her in the solo queue. The Alawi, though, for Wuffo, I would imagine. I don't see where else that goes. And it's kind of interesting. Another heavy brawler to be picked up this week.
Definitely a very heavy-hitting, scrappy duelist up in this top lane. And it's also a nice pick because if Bulldog were looking to get this Rek'Sai and try and move up into the top lane, create some pressure there, you can't really do that into an Alawi because of ultimate. It is so strong when you have more members against you that it is really difficult to try and gank an Alawi once she hits level 6 because of all the healing she gets from her passive and turning those fights around. Yorick will be the response, going to sit up in top lane, take towers for days, push 1v2 with the Maiden of the Mist. Very nice pick, but a Vayne is being hovered. I'm gonna hold my breath, but if we see a Vayne mid lane, I'm gonna be getting excited.
Baiting us out a bit. Yeah, it's gonna be the Corki.
Corki instead. Well, we can hope. We can hope, Skriv.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fairly, conventional. The Corki's still up. Picking it last, trying, hopefully, to get into a relatively safe kind of blind pick here. We'll see the Azir going to be picked up. Again, you were talking about Jarvan and Rek'Sai. In spring split, this is kind of the summer split at the moment, for sure.
Yeah. The summer split meta in mid lane at least has devolved
Yeah.
into Corki Azir. Like we mentioned in the first game, they do a very similar kind of job. They've got lots of wave clear. They've got safe, consistent damage in a team fight. They have maneuverability, so they're relatively safe in that laning phase. So they have become a bit of a staple. Difficult to say which one exactly outclasses the other. It's very much a skill matchup, but Azir a little bit easier to itemize against. So we're not going to talk too much about that until we get into the game, because until we see how it goes, there's not an awful lot to discuss, but instead we do have this top lane pick of the Yorick into the I've completely forgot her name. The Alawi.
The Alawi, yeah.
That's the one. Forgot her name for a second there, which are very not two champions that we see an awful lot, but both very strong in the 1v1 situation. But Alawi is a massive threat in these team fights as well. When that the ultimate goes down, it summons another tentacle for every person around her. So if you manage to get a skirmish in the river, in the Baron pit, or around the Drake, where all these members of Bulldog are going to be grouped up, that is a huge amount of damage coming through, and it could be cataclysmic if Bulldog don't respect that and don't ward out appropriately.
Yeah, I think it's something that, at least in solo queue, I feel they're going to be fairly used to it. The Alawi has definitely been picked up a little bit more. I think she was buffed in 9.13, 9.14, somewhere around there. Had a few changes and has been looking pretty damn good since then. And I'm sure we've all seen clips of those tentacles when you get your soul sucked, as they say. You know, it's kind of like playing around the slalom. You're just dodging and weaving, and it can make the game, or at least the laning phase, a little bit annoying. Test of Spirit, it's actually called. I just kind of had to look it up there. But yeah, it can be a little annoying to play around this Alawi in lane. And like you say, they've really got to respect. I think it's more so about the lane, but still in the team fight. But it's kind of, you know, when you go in 2v1, she kind of does have the ability to turn it around, especially if she is near some tentacles already, plus then the ultimate. She can really just kind of screw you over. Maybe she's, you know, managed to get that slow thanks to her E. You know, you've really got to respect the Alawi. I think that's what it's all about. And Yorick definitely can do that. The thing that he brings is the ability to sort of poke her down a little bit with the ghouls before, and with the maiden before an engage actually happens from Yorick and the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, lots and lots of wave clear from this Yorick. He is renowned for being one of the best split pushers in the game. Just the amount of damage he does to towers is insane. The sheer power that he has in that, with that Maiden of the Mist as well, once he hits level 6, it is a nice answer to the Alawi, because they both kind of turn a 1-on-1 into a 2v1 with their ultimates. Alawi getting so much healing back and getting those extra tentacles like we mentioned, but the Maiden of the Mist is such a potent threat, and doing more percentage health damage to each target that you hit that the Maiden is attacking can catch people off guard. And if this Alawi overextends in the lane, Yorick could potentially catch her out and do a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think as well there is a certain degree, at least again in the side lanes and whatnot, a certain degree of kind of disengage. If he puts the arena down the dark procession, it can kind of force, you know, the Alawi to have to attack that, or to just kind of give up on the engage. And the Yorick can really dictate the pace, slow him down by throwing the Morning Mist out, and you know, you just kind of chill for a bit, and then it's all good. You know, you don't really have to rush the issue. You can really dictate the pace, I think, of that laning phase as well, which is, again, where his strengths lie as like you say, one of the best split pushers in the game.
And even if that doesn't go to plan for Lionscreed, they still have a good avenue to attack through the bot lane early on. Like we said, the Lucian Braum is an incredibly strong combination. It's been in pro play a lot throughout spring. It has fallen out of favour a little bit more recently, but the way the passive works, you can proc the stun, like the stun going with Braum by landing that Q. Lucian dashes forwards, gets that double auto attack from his passive, one more hit, and you immediately have the Xayah or the Rakan stunned. They are stuck there. The Braum dashes forwards. It is a lot of kill potential early, and as soon as you hit level 2, if Lionscreed managed to get that before Bulldog, you have to think they're going to be wanting to charge forward and try and pick up an early kill to snowball this lane before Xayah and Rakan are able to do too much damage to them.
Yeah, the one thing I think Bulldog have really got going for them is, at least in that bot lane, is the kind of the synergy that they seem to have. Really comfortable with each other. Obviously, I suppose synergy in what they've picked as well, but they've had a good couple weeks. Overall, the team, obviously it's not going as they would like, but the bot lane has been one of the stronger areas for them for sure. So you still do need to respect them in that sense, and I think obviously they're going to understand the matchup. There is, honestly, I think a little bit more like if you're a bit too overconfident, if you're a bit too aggressive, it's kind of your fault if the Lucian Braum is able to take you down. You just kind of play a bit safe for a while. Once the Xayah hits 6, I think should be fairly safe. The Featherstorm away, you can disengage fairly well. And obviously, like you are saying, this Xayah just outscales the Lucian no end, really. Gets a couple items on the board, and it is again similar to the last game where the Lucian's all about the early to the mid. The pick that has come through from Bulldog is all about the mid, and particularly the late.
Yeah, and I think Bulldog's name of the game really is scaling. That is where they have a clear advantage over the side of Lionscreed, because like you just said, Xayah will outscale Lucian no end. Rakan becomes a really devastating engage tool, and the Yorick in the 1v1 against Violawi will also outscale her and be able to outduel her as well in a straight-up fight. So although Rek'Sai will fall off, and we'll see her have less of an impact as the game goes on, the rest of the lanes are looking really healthy for Bulldog when you start looking past that 30-minute mark, especially compared to the Lucian and the Alawi, which won't have quite the same impact out of situational moments.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be really interesting to see how Aero does this week as well. Was kind of quiet, not necessarily weak or a problem last week. But was certainly, a little bit slower, not quite having as big an impact as you would expect from the challenger mid lane, the expectations that we have. But again, that's kind of what the Azir is all about. And I think last week didn't really have a chance to scale up because the game was over. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he does this week. Interesting to see the Arcane Comet coming in as well, as opposed to that generally preferred lethal tempo. I'm not sure what you think about that.
Wanting to try, it says to me it wants to try and control this wave, the lane as much as possible. Every time he manages to put one of those sand soldiers forward, manages to hit the Corki with that ability, be proccing the Comet, and it'll just be keeping the Corki low enough that Aero isn't at risk of the all-in potential. The Rek'Sai and the Corki could quite easily burst this Azir down. He has taken the heal rather than the cleanse that we've seen in our previous game, so won't have that same level of safety, and the Comet is just all about keeping this Corki at bay as much as possible and hoping that his health bar is able to stay low enough that Bulldogs can't try and force the all-in.
Indeed. Certainly will be interesting to see how things go. I'm kind of excited. That mid lane, I think we're hopefully going to see a lot of pressure around it.
Yes.
They do, again, need to be careful. Lovesick has, like I say, been a little bit of a weak link in places. So really need to be aware of that fact for sure. But we'll see. I think, the first couple of weeks he's maybe been a bit weaker because he's not been required as much. And like I say, the Jarvan a bit safer for sure.
Yeah, definitely safer, and is able to provide that tanky front line for his team if they want. Because can go into that full health build, the armor, with that big kind of frontline diving in, so you're not blown up immediately, providing that more consistent threat. So there are a lot of options that this Jarvan can go towards. It can either go for the full damage glass cannon, try and get onto someone and blow them up immediately, or a bit more useful in team fights if he does go this tanky route, but doesn't necessarily need to do that because of the Braum and the Alawi, which will be getting some of his defensive frontline themselves.
Picked up the stopwatch as well. Certainly interesting, the inspiration second tree. I mean, it's definitely workable. It kind of screams to me, especially with this Braum having one as well, that they might try and look for a dive in the bot lane.
Hmm. I think diving the bot
So,
lane is definitely an option. I expect to
yeah.
see Lovesick down here, level 3, level 4, trying to make something happen, or at the very least, putting as much pressure on this Siren Rakan as possible, so they have to play far back in lane. Now, both teams took the standard line of scrimmage, neither of them really going to get any deep vision. Regan just managing to pop forwards there and getting a ward down, but will not spot the Rek'Sai out until she comes past in a second. So no idea for the side of Bulldogs where the Jarvan is starting, but I think it's pretty obvious for completely forgot the name of them. Lionscreed, that the Rek'Sai will be starting on the bot side of this map.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think you can kind of assume a little bit. It's very conventional to start at the red, but it's kind of a question of where does Jarvan go from there, so to speak.
Well, I think
Can
the
definitely
reason
see what you're saying though. That damage in mid, that damage in mid early on is pretty damn high because of the comet.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make trading in these extended, pokes, trying to whittle down the Corki a lot nicer. But I think the reason that we saw Lionscreed take that start on the blue side was so this Lucian Braum could get first access to the wave, could get the level 2, here it is now, and immediately stepping forwards.
Yeah, looking to, at the very least, just zone off a little bit of farm, try and push the advantage. Q misses though, so no ability to, dash in and proc that as quickly as possible. While there's no real option. They also knew that the Rakan had started Q, so no real ability for him to stop anything there. But like I say, it doesn't land.
Yeah, a lot of respect shown by Bulldogs bot lane. They knew that this was going to happen. They saw that Lionscreed had got the early access to the wave, so they immediately stepped back, and they were so far under tower that Lionscreed couldn't go for that play, and they just were out of options immediately. But Woodford does have an advantage on the top side of his map, building up a level and CS lead for himself, forcing this Yorick under tower a little bit, which isn't too unexpected in the early stages. The Alawi will have the run of this lane throughout levels probably throughout levels 1 to 11, but as soon as Yorick gets that second point in the middle of a mist, that's where this will really turn, and he'll start to be able to contest the Alawi in the side lane.
We'll see. I think we're going to maybe have a little bit more of a scrappy game here. That Comet is doing so much damage. We'll see a bit of a collapse on towards the jungler, who I think is Commit. That's normally who they've been playing with, but Go Back, is not anyone that I'm aware of in terms of the possible rosters. So, a little difficult to tell which jungler, because they do have two junglers as well. But apparently, we've been talking about this, pronunciation in the mid side of things. Apparently, he's wanting the pronunciation as Hero. So
Hero, okay.
Yeah. Oh, this could be interesting in the top side, creating room for the Rek'Sai to move in. I don't think Woofo has any idea. Gonna get trapped in. Immediate flash.
Flash
Dark
is
Procession
going
is enough.
Flash is going to make that gank worthwhile. Won't get anything more from it. Alawi perfectly safe under tower. That aren't really the tools to try and push this further, but it has given Yorick the CS advantage. He will likely be losing this now that that wave is going to be able to be picked up by Wufo under the tower. But definitely nice to have this Alawi without the flash. Sets up for a return gank, and it relieves it a lot of pressure from ego speed on this Yorick, because he knows that the Alawi has to respect the possibility of the Rek'Sai coming up, so she won't be playing as far forwards and as far in his face as she otherwise would be.
I mean, that's what you'd think. I think the player of Woofo, though, is very, very aggressive. I remember last week, and I think I'll keep bringing it up across the course of the season. He did really well on that Aatrox, don't get me wrong, but the first fight, he kind of TP'd in a little bit late, and then popped World Ender and just jumped into like 4 people and immediately like flashed out as he realized it was a bit too early for him to attempt to do that.
Yeah.
So I think definitely has a very, very aggressive mindset and play style.
Going to be an explosive matchup to watch. Yorick has taken the early back, got himself a Sheen with the lane resetting quite nicely for him. He'll be able to farm a bit safer now and have a bit more damage on these trades when he is able to land that Q. Prockets up very quickly, gives him a little bit of healing, but Go Back will be spotted out on this ward, won't be able to make anything happen from behind the tower. but Lovesick also hasn't had any impact so far. He's completed his first clear, has backed off, gone for the boots instead, so looking to get around the jungle even quicker, but hasn't made any ganks attempted yet, and nobody for Bulldog has really felt a whole lot of pressure. Even down in his bot lane, where we said the early priority was going to be with Lionscreed, there's a CS advantage over to the Xayah, and that's only going to build up more as these caster waves crash into the tower, and she's able to pick them up quite nicely.
Yeah, definitely problematic. It does look like Lovesick is going for the aggressive farm up. This is a really kind of obvious gank coming in, honestly, straight in towards the wave. KZ going to get knocked up. I don't even know if the Rek'Sai is required. The root coming in on towards Regan. Flash into the heal, so no kills, but a hell of a lot of summoners spent just for the Ignite of Cat, so that's definitely going to be worth for the bot side. And like we said, it was all about the early pressure for Lionscreed. They've lost that now that they don't have the summoners available.
No pressure at all in this bot lane, and really surprised to see them fall for that gank. The Rek'Sai was hanging around, able to tunnel forwards, but Lovesick caught out in the jungle here.
Does need to be careful, gets slowed by the mist, and the Dark Procession comes in. Lovesick is able to quickly get away. Maybe not quite as much damage as Ego Speed was hoping for. Pops the Maiden as well, and although, you know, it sticks around until it dies, it's not really the damage they were perhaps looking for. Ego Speed, definitely feeling good though.
Maybe trying to force out the flash there. The Maiden will be sacrificed here. There's a long cooldown blown, so Wufo and Lovesick could look to try and make a gank happen now that Ego Speed doesn't have that. He has fallen a level behind as well, so Alawi could look to push forwards now that she has that ultimate, try and make a play happen in top lane if she feels confident enough in this level, in this one-on-one with that Phage.
Yeah, we'll see. Got the corrupting pots ticking as well. Looking to get aggressive, zoning Ego Speed off the farm. Just left to hit a few with his E at the moment. He will get through. Will manage a bit of farm, but is definitely losing more than he's gaining. In comes the Rek'Sai though. Wufo getting aggressive. The flash into the knock-up. The huge ultimate coming through. He will not quite manage. No, he does. He manages one. Oh, Wufo gets both of them. No way. That's exactly what we were talking about. No respect for the leap of faith. I mean, you know, it's not a case of I'm locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. The double kill coming in, that is absolutely huge for Wufo.
Ding, ding, ding. Welcome to the ring. Alawi in the red corner picks up the double. You do not want to be trying to gank an Alawi post level 6. She is such a terror. And you saw how much health she got back. It looked like a really good play. The flash knock up from Go Back. I thought we were going to be able to cut her down before the ultimate came through. But as soon as she jumped into the air, slammed that idol down, there was no hope left. Ego Speed flashed away, but was not able to escape, and then Go Back left here with all of a sudden this Alawi powered up, and that double kill going to feel very, very nice for this Alawi. I don't think Go Back's going to be making that same mistake twice.
Indeed, and I mean, it's a little difficult here because she's going for that Black Cleaver early on. You know, there's going to be probably some armor built up, but not a massive amount, so really going to start shredding through people in the early stages. The faster she's able to get that, the better. Of course, as well, I mean, you've got that Corki in the mid lane, a little bit harder to itemize, but a very heavy AD comp across the board, really. No sort of bursty mages or anything like that, so do need to be a bit careful. These tank starts are going to come online for the side of Lionscreed. However, this bot lane, almost a 20 CS lead coming up here.
Yeah, nice play from Gold and the Cat there, pushing Regan and KZ back, allowing full access to this dragon. And although it is only a Cloud Drake, it will provide a lot more mobility around the map for the side of Bulldog as Yorick looks to be engaged.
Oh, he's feeling confident. I mean, I'm not so sure, man. Getting a lot of slaps down of the tentacles as they do run out. There's something I suppose to consider. I think why this matchup maybe does suit Yorick, sorry, in the kind of 1v1. Not so much now because there's so much of a lead, but I kind of noticed the tentacles slapping down onto the Maiden, so I think they kind of ignore Yorick a little bit, if that makes sense. So I think that's maybe the logic behind this pick.
It's definitely a difficult one now that the Yorick is those 2 kills behind. When when you were looking at these 2 laners on paper in the 1v1 at an even state, it goes in the Alawi's favour early, like I mentioned, but then it flips over to Yorick once he gets that level 2 in the Maiden of the Mist, once he gets that Trinity Force completed. But now that Alawi was allowed to pick up those 2 kills early on, and she has the level advantage.
Okay. The Rakan a little safe there. They were a bit unsure of what he was doing. The quickening comes in. Woofo, though, going to get caught off guard here. That's huge shutdown. It goes onto the Rek'Sai. So there is a silver lining that it's not the Corki, especially picking that up. I think they definitely tried to leave it, but at that point, they also just want to take Woofo out. No ultimate available, so no crazy healing coming in. It's going to give pressure towards the top side as the bot lane had moved up. So they might be able to possibly get the tower, if not, at the very least, a number of platings. But the Rek'Sai chilling around. I believe... Okay, so they did manage to get the Rift Herald, though, on the side of Lionscreed. So there is that.
Yeah, and with Woofo hanging on to that, it will be a difficult position. But more tower plates going down. The lane swap was initiated first by the side of Bulldogs, so they got priority. They managed to find that kill in the river. But like you said, they did lose the Rift Herald, so not a completely won trade for them. And they really need to have a bit more pressure and a bit more impact, because the Yorick doesn't really want to be fighting the Lucian Brown. That's not an ideal matchup for him. He's going to take a lot of harass damage, and he is going to be chased down if he overextends or if Lucian feels they can get the kill. So while I understand trading this lane up, it's better for the Zyra Khan to be into the Alawi. It really puts the Alawi at range. If she does manage to catch them out, they will simply fall down as well. They have no resistances and no real health built up. So Bulldog playing a bit of a dangerous game here.
Yeah, definitely. The Alawi looking to force the wave forwards, however, and we'll see what the choice is here. He's kind of floating around, does, of course, have the Heralds. I think kind of wants to use it for himself to get even more cash before these plates drop in about a minute or so, and he was looking for the cheeky catch. Looks like it's going to come. Fair amount of damage off the Spirit, but ultimately not a great deal happening. Again, though, it's just kind of that tentacle pressure, the fact that the cat can't really look for an engage because he's too busy dodging the slaps. So like you say, it's just kind of keeping the pressure on, I suppose, from the Alawi here.
Yeah, Rakan is very slippery, won't be able to get caught by the Alawi and take much threat, but she has a lot of wave clear. You can see those tentacles up Alec well, but big gank up here.
Yeah, they're looking for the dive. This is certainly a risky one. Does have that leap of faith available. They burn it, though. They've also got... oh, my goodness, the Rek'Sai, but he gets absolutely trounced just then by the tentacles. I think took 3 at once. Gonna go down here, surely. Has used the ultimate, trying his best to fight, but Woofo will take him out. Woofo survives as well. Meanwhile, the rest of the team has responded in kind in the bot side. They're gonna lose the first tower, but they will quite quickly trade it back. And I mean, a kill coming in for that Alawi, again, just extending the lead and the strength that the Tentacle Master has.
And there was a lot of resources used to try and get that kill onto Woofo. The flash was used by Go Back, the ultimate was used, the quickening was used by the cat as well. So a lot of pressure was lost on the top side of the map when Woofo didn't go down, and they responded, like you said, on the bottom side. They picked up that kill. They picked up the kill onto Go Back, realizing he didn't have the damage, was simply chased towards the tower. And they also got the response tower in the bot side as well. So overall, that will be favouring Lionscreed, as both teams look to be fostering around this dragon now. An Infernal Drake, so definitely an objective both sides wanting to fight over.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, getting that bot tower really helps out with the Infernal Drake here. It allows the wave to be pushed in by Woofo, and he can start to play kind of in between two objectives, that tier 2 and the Infernal as well, which they're looking very prepared for in terms of the vision, in terms of starting it, the power that they have as a team. The Yorick not around, certainly could TP in, and I think they're aware of that fact, pulling it out a little bit away from this ward towards the back end. And yeah, no contest at all on that Infernal Drake. It's actually, interestingly enough, a gold lead for the Bulldog side, but it doesn't look like it. It doesn't feel like it. It's really looking good at the moment for the side of Lionscreed as they pick up that Infernal.
I think Bulldog didn't want to risk trying to TP and make anything happen into that 5-man stack around the Infernal. It was a very difficult position. They didn't really have the members set up correctly, and they don't have at this stage the damage to try and force these big all-in fights. I think if Yorick had have TP'd in for backline, he'd have immediately been collapsed on and blown up, and you'd then have just been looking at losing your TP, losing pressure on the top side of the map again, and a 4 versus 5 fight. So although the Infernal Drake being lost isn't the ideal situation, I think it was a good call to cede it over and not trying to risk even more by fighting for an objective you likely weren't going to get.
Yeah, I think it's something a lot of solo queue players could definitely learn from. Just let it go from time to time, because you can't really do anything like you say, and it's tough, but it's smart. And they're just waiting. I think the win condition now becomes, right, wait for this Yorick to eventually have a bit more strength and power against the Alawi in the side lane. At the moment, leave them separated so that it's more of a ranged into melee matchup rather than 2 melee champions against each other that obviously the Yorick is going to hard lose. Actually does have a 20 CS lead here, so, you know, doing well in that sense. They also have, okay, this is maybe a little bit aggressive from KZ. Great flash comes in from Ego Speed to avoid the Glacial Fissure, and it looks like he might just be able to get himself a double here. He, in fact, will. Absolutely massive, as they completely underestimate the Yorick. The bot lane of Lionscreed giving a bit more of a swing back towards the Yorick, especially now, again, with this CS lead that he's got over the Alawi.
And what did we say, Scriv? Level 11, get that Trinity Force, and watch this Yorick smash. 2 versus 1, no problem at all. He is such a powerhouse, you just have to wait. All of a sudden, he is back into the game. He has now overtaken, for the first time in game, this Alawi in gold. So now, back on an even footing.
That is certainly a problem. The flag and drag coming through, a bit of return damage from Hero on that Azir, but ultimately nothing coming as Go Back, I suppose, just trying to, thanks to the Yorick, almost picking up 2 towers there, by the way, as well as the double kill. But thanks to the Yorick having a good amount of priority, they clear out that blue side jungle, that bot side jungle for the side of Lionscreed. Lovesick will get his hands onto the red buff. They're aware of the fact. It's looking better and better here, I have to say, for Bulldogs for sure. And again, you know, what I was kind of touching on before we saw that action in the bot lane was they're kind of resting a little bit, waiting for the Yorick, who now seems to have come online, especially thanks to those 2 kills, but also waiting for the Corki and the Xayah to just ultimately outscale the rest of the Lionscreed team. You know, that Alawi is somewhat still, even though with the buff, somewhat of a kind of cheese pick, of a kind of, you know, if you respect me, it's going to be tough, but if you come in trying 2v1, you don't respect my damage, then I can easily beat you out. And she does seem to have a lot of pressure at the moment, but I think is definitely going to drop off eventually.
Very similar kind of style to the Darius. If you don't respect the Alawi, if you don't fight sensibly, and you don't try and like kite back away, she will run through a team. But there are all the tools that on the side of Bulldogs to be able to do that. The Xayah Khan able to lock her up for a long time and just kite back. Corki shouldn't really be at any risk of ever getting caught out by this Alawi. It is only the Yorick and the Rek'Sai that are going to be wanting to dive onto her face. So as long as Bulldog plays sensibly, they don't lose any more ground for Alawi. She is more or less a non-factor for the rest of the game. It's going to be really telling the next time we see this Yorick and the Alawi clash in this 1v1 side lane, which one comes out on top. Because if Yorick wins out against this Alawi now in the 1v1 and puts her onto a grey screen, I really think Wufo is going to have a hard time making any meaningful contribution for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Absolutely love that from Ego Speed, by the way. It sort of looks like he's moving from the bot side to join his team in mid, try and get some pressure on the mid tower. But no, he's just passing through. He's just going to the next side lane. You know, now I've put some pressure in the bot side, get the Corki to shove out, maybe start a slow push. I'll go work on the top side of things.
And this is the thing, you talk about ADCs as, you know, the main people that are going to knock down towers, that consistent damage. But when we saw that fight that the Yorick won in the bot lane a few minutes ago, he chunked out that bot tower, and then the amount of damage he did to that bot tier 2 as well is simply insane. Yorick is such a strong split pusher, and he will demolish this towers if he is left alone for just a minute. So the constant pressure of him just roaming around, dipping into the fog of war and appearing in a side lane to push in those waves phase is something that Lionscreed definitely have to try and respond to and have to do something about. But at the minute, it just doesn't look like they have the capability to do so. The bot lane, which should have had the early priority, been able to take some fights and advantages, is sitting at 0-2 combined. Mid lane Azir hasn't done anything yet. The jungler on the Jarvan, of all picks to sit back and not contribute, a Jarvan. He is an early game jungler. He is so able to set up these engages, these ganks, but he's just had no impact whatsoever. And even though Go Back has given over those 2 kills to the Alawi, did make those questionably aggressive plays on the top side, at least they have done something. There has been some form of pressure and some form of threat that Lionscreed's laners have been under, whereas that just hasn't been the case for the side of Bulldogs.
I think the Azir, though, you kind of mention it, he's got, of course, which, you know, say what you will about it, the bounty for the CS is definitely, you know, an interesting choice, but definitely looking good. He has a relatively strong lead over his lane opponent and a pretty strong lead over most of the players. You know, the bot lane farming has kind of come to a bit of a standstill just because they've been grouping up, just because they've been walking around. I think that second Drake was picked up there as well relatively easily. It's another Cloud Drake, but again, that kind of falls into the hands of the Yorick, who's looking to just run around the map and keep the pressure on, whether he's getting the towers, whether he's threatening them. The Cloud Drake definitely going to help him. And as well, if he leaves the ghouls around, they proc his Phage. So, or well, now, you know, the Trinity Force. So he's actually pretty speedy as well. You have to bear in mind the Dark Procession not quite going to land, but look at that damage. And he does barely any of it. Most of it comes from the ghouls. Just going to push the Alawi once again back and say, look, you've got to respect me. I can now win this matchup.
It is horrible. It's exactly like we said. The Alawi is starting to fall off. The Yorick now has the tools available to actually fight her. And if he hadn't have given over those early kills in the laning phase, this Alawi would have done nothing. She wouldn't even be a relevant part of this conversation. But right now, the Baron is live and available. Both of the teams looking to try and put some vision around here. Both of these top laners that are currently split pushing do have their teleports available to them. So we might be seeing a team fight break out. And if a team fight breaks out at this stage, I have to hand it over to the side of Bulldog. I think they've got the better composition. I think the carries are in a better position to actually do something. They have more poke damage to play this Baron dance with. And I think that Lionscreed are going to struggle unless they find the engage on their terms.
Yeah, and we also have this Executioner's Calling coming in from Go Back. So if you can get that down onto the Alawi, there's a little bit more pressure on her because the ultimate's not going to be as reliable. But I mean, we're talking about, you know, how this Alawi may be dropping off a bit. It's where things could spin around. Oh, hold the point though, because we're going to see some quick action in at middle. They tried really hard to take down KZ there. We have a flash coming through from the cat as well as the quickening. It will be the AD's flash in return, in all fairness, which is a fairly even trade-off. Corki as well expending the package. Meanwhile, in the side lane, bit of action. That's something to consider as well. There's probably an argument to be made that if the Alawi TP's in, she's going to be a little bit chunked out, not going to be 100% healthy compared to the Yorick, who, you know, is looking good, able to actually heal back from the tentacles, takes down that tower. Dark Procession comes in. We'll see the Leap of Faith and huge damage once again coming through. The Yorick is able to disengage quite easily, but Hero coming in, gets the shutdown as he wasn't expecting it. And again, it's starting to look good. It looks good in terms of forcing back, but I think that all-in from the Alawi is a lot stronger just because of the Leap of Faith and how effective it can be. But the rest of the team has responded in kind. They start the Baron, not feeling confident with it. However, they're not really doing enough damage. They will start to back away. And as you can see, the ping from Alawi coming in, of course, that Infernal Drake is going to be the next one. They've already got one on the Lionscreed side. Could be even better if they get another.
So much vision was available, so many wards there that the Alawi could have TP'd onto. It simply wasn't worth it for Bulldogs to try and force us. But down the mid lane, we will see the teams brawling. Lionscreed really pushing onto this tower, wanting to take it down. It is still standing. Both of these mid lane tier 1s are still available for the taking. But Lionscreed, with that push, they managed to chip down those health bars enough to feel confident moving down onto this dragon now.
Oh, and they kind of bait it out a little, though. Go down, take the scuttle, make it safer and easier. There's no hard commit coming in onto it because they realize the Baron is up, looking for a fight in the mid lane. Oh, huge damage coming in from the Culling. In fact, the Cataclysm as well. Gonna lock 2 up. The Alawi is coming in on the flank. No kills as yet. Alawi will flash through the Leap of Faith. Oh my goodness, what has happened? What has happened? The blasting plant sends 2 of them back in. A triple coming in for Hero because of it. And a huge blunder from Bulldog as they look to escape. I think they may have lost 1 or 2. But the 2 low HP players from the bot lane absolutely fluff it, send themselves straight back into hell, and that might just turn the game on its head as they'll pick up the Baron alongside it.
The momentum swing here is going to be insane. No members of Lionscreed were lost there. They picked up 3 quick kills, the Baron in succession, and they are now moving down to the Infernal. They are going to have no contention able to stop them here at all. It's going to be a lot of objectives and a lot of power suddenly swinging into their favour from what was a complete error by the side of Bulldog. They were trying to escape through this jungle, and I believe it was QL in the mid lane on this Corki hit the blast plant to get himself away and sacrifice his bot lane in the process. They were already low health, they might have been picked off, but he sealed their fate, sending them back to their doom, and the comms are going to be a little bit heated after that one.
Yeah, that's kind of the main thing. Obviously, it sways the gold in favor. It's not massively in favor. It's a pretty good fight. Obviously, this Baron power play now coming in. Be interesting to see what they do with it. But it is definitely, like you say, the comms, the mental, whether they can remain cool and not point any fingers and, not get tilted, as they say, from a play like that, because it is a huge blunder that shouldn't really be happening. Surely if QL is on that side of the blasting plant, he's already away, but maybe just kind of autopiloting things to remain safe. We'll see. We've got a bit of a fight in the bot side. They need to get this Yorick strong. Go back will come in. The Leap of Faith, though, gotta respect it. The grievous wounds of the Executioner's Calling seem to be doing the job. The Void Rush comes through. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, going to be a fight, a return fight. The Corki dishing out massive damage, but unfortunately, his teammates fall too quickly. The Braum, of course, gets the passive down, and it will be an easy pickup coming in. A 3-4-1. I mean, the Yorick, like I say, has got that pressure, but Azir's over in the top side, answering back fairly evenly.
This is a big minion wave for the Yorick, though, to work with. He has a lot of pressure here. The Maiden, as well, will easily push down this tower and take an inhibitor. Can't necessarily say the same for the side of Lionscreed, but they will break the base on the top side of the map, take that inhibitor there. They're taking the tower in the mid lane as well. The team's playing a very dangerous game, trying to trade different sides. Go back is put into the fight and will be cut to ribbons as he is simply shoved into the fight with the Shurima Shuffle. But
oh my goodness,
still
they're going for the end here. They're going for the end. They've got the TP coming in from Gould as well. In comes Cat. Stop the backs, boys. Stop the backs. It's looking good. The Nexus is open. The Azir will make it back, but that's the game. Oh, no. They didn't respect the Yorick. And Gould as well coming through. KZ just alt F4.